Hey people, how are you doing? Thanks for watching, or thanks for tuning into Future Trend today. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I did as well. I decided to take some time off with my wife and, just relax from a very busy week last week. And right now that the week is about to start, I think it's a good idea to pick things back up again. So this one is a fairly chill video. I just wanted to, draw some correlation between my favorite show at the moment, Billions, on HBO or Showtime, I think it is, and the current situation with the crypto space and digital assets, regulatory clarity, and the like. So I'll just get into it. Obviously, my thumbnail tells a story in itself, a story with a million words or a billion words. But my take is essentially, as I've learned and come to understand over the past few years, is XRP is essentially designed to scale into the trillions. That's pretty much what everyone that I've watched on YouTube has helped me understand. The documentation, the websites that we've surfed over the past few months and years have also, supported this thesis or this theory. And currently, obviously, the market cap in XRP is not necessarily, or should I say, the daily volume in XRP is currently in the billions. But I think there's going to come a day that we will wake up and we may be looking at trillions as a daily volume mark. So then again, this is not financial advice. This is just my opinion, so please take it all with a grain of salt. And I'll try to at least explain and help you guys understand my thinking. But I'll start off with the fun stuff. Let's start off actually with the show Billions. If you haven't heard of it already, Billions is essentially this TV show on HBO. Sorry, I keep saying HBO, but it's probably a Showtime TV show. And for those of us in this space that are essentially paying attention to everything to do with finance, I'm sure this is the cream of the crop. This is the show to watch, at least from my perspective. So I'm assuming you guys who are listening to this would probably understand. But Billions pretty much is a story of a successful hedge fund manager who started off from, relatively decent, or should I say humble or modest background. And he became a shark in the space where not too many people who already in the space, already privileged, were supportive of individuals that would come from nothing. So you have this particular guy who is cutthroat in his approach to making money and keeping it, and he goes head to head with this regulator. I think it was an Attorney General, Chuck Rhodes, who pretty much stops at nothing to try and prove that the main character, Bobby Axelrod, who is essentially acted by Damian Lewis, he stops at nothing to prove that this hedge fund manager is essentially conducting his business illegally. So it's a push and pull between trying to figure out, who is really in the right. Should you essentially get rid of your ethical bounds to prove that someone is wrong or, transacting illegally? Or do you, follow the rules to make sure that, everyone in the playing field or everyone in the space is doing everything that they should? A lot of boundaries are crossed. It's a lot of drama. It's very heated. Honestly speaking, it's also one of the most on point TV shows being aired right now. Like, it's honestly in touch with everything that's going on in the finance world, to the point that they even touch on digital assets and cryptocurrencies as pretty casually. They fit that into the script. The writers of this show fit that into the script fairly well, but at the same time too, I believe everything that is unfolded within the series has actually been quite it's gone in correlation with what is happening in the real world. So I personally would recommend watching that. If I'm to give you any advice or suggestion, I think that would be a good series to watch. But just to give you guys an idea, I mean, mainstream media has done its best to draw attention to this space over the past few months and years, and they fit that in ever since the market crash in '08, I believe, so, or '09. So just wanted to draw some correlation back and forth. Essentially, it's a push and pull. You have regulatory bodies pretty much stamping down on newcomers into the space of finance, and the newcomers are doing everything they can to compete and, you know, stamp their dominance in the space of finance as well. Now, drawing correlation to the actual real world, I'll get into that in the next bit, but I just wanted to show you guys a couple items that I feel would actually support my thesis or my theory on this one. So, obviously this is pretty much the the AG Chuck Rhodes, and the main fund manager Bobby Axelrod, and pretty much this is how this picture just pretty much tells you everything you need to know about the show. But what I want to draw attention to in addition to this is how mainstream media has drawn attention to the space indirectly. You have movies like movies such as Dope, which was actually released in 2015, which, as it states here, the main characters, Malcolm, Jib, and Diggy, seek help from a hacker, Will Sherwood, who sets up an online black market website to sell drugs through Bitcoin transactions. Now, again, this is another, you know, obviously it's a red flag if you hear anything to do with drugs through Bitcoin. I mean, that's pretty much everyone's red flags go up every time they hear Bitcoin because of its association with items like black market websites or black market, just the black market in general. And the irony behind that is people think that, you know, such transactions are not, you know, are not traceable. I mean, it pretty much comes down to your expertise, but like at the end of the day, everything is trackable if it's online. So from my perspective, I think it's pretty interesting that, you know, as far back as 2015, this conversation was in mainstream media through like movies such as Dope, and you can draw a correlation to many other shows as well that talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general. But I'm going to play one clip here, and if I do get copyright struck by this one, I'll most likely upload this video again. But just wanted to draw attention to a particular point where within the show Billions, the main character here, I think this was in the first or second season, the main character draws, they essentially fit this into the script as well. So I'm going to play this and hopefully you guys can hear it.
Crypto in cold storage. I got no blackjack. Thank you, McPhee.
Okay, so that particular clip, McPhee, who's pretty much an employee of Axelrod, did something impossible for him. I'm not going to ruin it for you guys. This is just a 7-second clip, but you guys could go ahead and watch it, and I'm sure it'll make more sense once you watch it. He does something for Axelrod, and Axelrod pays him in crypto, obviously. Now, how does he pay him in crypto, you may ask? Like, how do you pay someone in crypto? And he mentioned something about cold storage. Essentially, if you're trying to be risk averse in this space, there's certain measures you have to take. And one of those measures is storing your assets offline. And by offline, that means not on exchanges, not on some account that you log into and, oh, that's my account, and, you know, I could see all my assets that I've bought over the past few months or weeks or whatever. Essentially, not keeping your stuff online is the best way at the current moment, I believe, to safeguard your crypto or your digital assets. There we go. This device here is a Ledger Nano X, or an S actually, Ledger Nano S. And this particular device is pretty much all you need. There are multiple other ones, by the way, Trezors and all that like, but I'll link this in the description below. You can go check it out. If you're looking to buy it and keep your crypto offline, I definitely suggest or recommend going with these guys and buying directly from the vendor itself, not an Amazon purchase. But essentially, he's holding this. This is essentially mainstream. This is a mainstream a TV show where the main character draws attention to a space in finance that if anybody else were to ask, they'd probably be linking it to, again, this particular negative connotation of, black market website transactions using Bitcoin. He doesn't necessarily specify also what cryptocurrency he's handing this over to McPhee. But regardless, obviously he knows what he's doing because he's definitely taking the safe precautions. He's taking precautionary measures to make sure that it's not compromised, or at least it's relatively discreet how he's transacting, and offering this benefit, this incentive to McPhee for doing this whatever job or task he managed to undertake. So that's something that's interesting, and I believe, from my perspective, I think it's something that draws attention to the space indirectly or directly. It depends on how you'd like to take it. I say indirectly because he doesn't actually specify what cryptocurrency he's giving it to him in, but directly it is drawing attention to the space of digital assets, and how safeguarding it at this current state is better done or accomplished using devices like these. These are cold storage devices that help you securely custody your assets. On the topic of custody, if you watched my last video, but so thinking about that, it draws correlation to the current efforts of Ripple, which is a how do I say this? The current efforts of Ripple. Let me actually swipe this way here. This is CEO Brad Garlinghouse. He and his team have done their best to make sure that their company is transacting and has been in good regulatory standing with governments and regulatory bodies on an international or global scope. And you have this man over here, Brian Brooks, and he was at one point in time the chief legal for Coinbase, which is a leading and well-known cryptocurrency exchange. It's a platform or business that sells cryptocurrencies of various types. So we have Brian Brooks here, who is the current controller of the currency, and he greenlighted banks and financial institutions custodying crypto assets and offering services, or should I say, offering custody services to customers and the like. So Brad on this end here Brad and his team have been doing their best to make sure that they're in good standing with individuals that represent bodies like the OCC, and the main difference in this particular thumbnail here is, well, the dynamic that is drawn. There's a clear dynamic that's drawn from this, in that in the TV show Billions, you have Bobby Axelrod going head to head with Chuck Rhodes, who's a regulatory figure in the finance world. That isn't the case when it comes to the real world, where you have individuals like Brad Garlinghouse and his team at Ripple doing everything they can to make sure that they're in good standing with regulatory bodies like the OCC, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and everyone in between. I mean, they've written letters to, let me actually not got to that one yet, but they've written open letters to Congress, just pretty much just letting them know that they'd like to not be painted with a broad brush with the likes of different digital currencies like Bitcoin. Here Ripple states directly that many of the blockchain and digital currency industry are responsible actors. We are responsible to the U.S. and we're responsible to U.S. and international law. We are responsible to serving the greater good. And by that being, if you do your research, or if you're actually watching this, you're probably already aware that they have been in good standing with bodies like the IMF, the World Bank, ECB, the Bank of England, the Bank of Canada, and just drawing attention to those relationships over the past few years. This particular letter was drawn up and sent to the Congress of the United States, just mentioning that they don't want to be painted with a broad brush along with all the other cryptocurrencies, because there are many in the blockchain and digital currency industry that are responsible. They've been responsible to both the US and international law, and they're doing their best to make sure that they're in good standing and following the rules so that, when it is time for regulation to be stamped, companies like Ripple will stand a better chance of competing because they follow or meet the demands or the requirements that are necessary to transact in this world of finance. So that's something to keep in mind. You have, as I mentioned here, Brian Brooks, who is also pretty much spoon-fed the traditional finance world into the digital by taking his expertise, his legal expertise while working at Coinbase, and applying them in a way, in terms of, if not only his influence but his expertise, he's applied them to the U.S. regulatory financial system as well, and that essentially resulted in decisions like the one that happened on the 22nd of July, the approval of financial institutions custodying digital assets. So that's something that's very interesting. There's actually, in my opinion, what I'm trying to draw attention to is the fact that there is cooperation within the regulatory or the government sphere and the private financial industry or system. You have individuals that are very, very well aware of the changes that are coming, and they're doing everything in their power to make sure that they're working with the regulatory bodies to make sure that the transition, whenever it does happens smoothly without any hiccups or any issues like that, or at least any drama that this particular drama, Billions, draws attention to. Mind you, it's completely important to actually transact legally and to make sure that you are also transacting responsibly in the space of finance, because there's a lot of money laundering, there's a lot of fraud that goes on within the space, and it's important to draw attention to the individuals or the bad actors in this space, and it's important to weed them out. So, I mean, from playing a devil's advocate and supporting Chuck Rhodes' efforts in, cracking down on individuals that he believes are not following proper legal channels to transact in the finance world, there are certain instances I support his approach, but I think it needs to be more fine-tuned, and he needs to. Individuals like this, regulatory individuals, need to take a more open and bird's eye view on the whole space and where the direction is going with regards to finance. And I believe that's what, that's where an example can be drawn from Ripple's attempts to work with bodies like the OCC. So taking this into consideration, I did a little bit of research and looked into, I did a very, very general PDF search on Google, and just try to draw that to something that I found interesting with regards to the Bank of Canada. And the Bank of Canada in particular, they have integrated, this is actually a response to the Bank of Canada's efforts to try and, get some I think they were doing like, you have certain task forces like Project Jasper, which I'm sure by now you've heard of if you're in the space. But this is Ripple's response to the Bank of Canada. And it mentions that integrating the Ripple settlement infrastructure in Canada would enable interoperability between any Canadian financial institution with other banks that have already integrated the Ripple technology in Europe and the US, and simultaneously enables access to other global regions, currencies, and networks. And if we're going to call a spade, the entire purpose, in my opinion, of this shift to digitalization is interoperability, because as this man here said, the fastest way to transact, or the fastest way to send money from here to London, is essentially to fly it over and have it settle. That's essentially everything. That's how the system was prior to 2020. Obviously, depends on what time you're watching this, things may have changed. But they're working Ripple through projects through the RippleNet technology and protocol. They're working to essentially solve that problem of delays in settlement, and cross-border settlement has been essentially their main claim to fame over the past few years. And they've been doing everything in their power to work again with regulatory bodies. Yeah, so that's what I draw from the real world and the drama world through, depicted in billions. But it's something to pay attention to because, well, not only will time tell essentially where the direction of money goes or finance goes, but I feel like the producers and the writers of billions are pretty on point and have been paying attention to what's going on in the world, and obviously they're trying to be, in a responsible writer would want to be as accurate as possible with regards to what they depict in their writing. But yeah, I definitely go recommend or suggest you guys go watch Billions if you haven't already. At least catch up because, well, they're currently on their season, their halfway point finale, and I think we're pretty much all waiting for the next half of the season that could pop up again. But yeah, what are the items that I want to talk about? Yeah, so you guys go check it out. Outside of that, that's all I'm going to talk about for the time being. As always, I'm going to end it off on what our current market looks like right now. I'm going to refresh this here. Yeah, so, well, the last time we checked, it was about 11,000 for BTC, and XRP has stayed fairly stable around 29 cents, going just above 30 cents USD, and the current market cap is 372 billion. So, I mean, we've seen 800 billion before, and as I'm trying to draw attention to here, it's not billions that we're looking for, it's trillions. So I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to please comment, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be aware of any time that I make a post or post a video. And just let me know what you guys think. Have you guys watched Billions before? What do you like most about that particular that drama series? And do you actually find some correlation, or am I making sense when I mention that the real world isn't as cutthroat and how do I say this, anti-newcomers when it comes to finance? Because clearly the OCC has made it public that they're now, granting charters to any financial institutions that are, in the space to help customers custody crypto assets. And I feel that's a step in the right direction, being that everything is going digital. So you guys let me know what you think. And again, thanks for watching.